From our previous videos, we learned how to cast on and we learned how to do a basic knit stitch. Now we're going to learn how to purl. So you're going to go into the stitch opposite from what you did knitting. You went from the bottom up, you made a cross with your needles with the right hand needle in the back, and now purling is the opposite of all of that. So now to purl, you're going to go into the stitch from the top down with your yarn in front. So I kind of drape the yarn over my thumb so I know it's in front. And then you go top down into the stitch. You still make your X, but now your right hand needle is going to be in front. So you make your X, you grab your yarn, and then you're going to make the stitch basically like the knit stitch, but again opposite. So this time you're going to go in between the needles first, then wrap around the front needle, put a little tension on that string, and then back out of the loop. So you back away. You slowly bring the tip down and back through the loop. And now you have the stitch caught on your right hand needle, and you can let it drop off your left hand needle. Let's do that one again. My yarn is in front. You go into the stitch from the top down. You make your X. You go in between the needles first and then wrap around the front needle. And then you very slowly come back out through a hole. If you can see that hole right there. You're going to bring the needle back through the hole. And if you kind of feel your knitting, you'll feel that the knitting needle kind of knows it wants to go back out through that hole. So just be kind of aware that it wants to do that. So you're just guiding it through that hole. So my yarn is in front, not back in the back like I would if I was knitting. So you want to make sure your yarn is in the front. Give it a good tug. Go into the stitch from the top, pointing down. Make an X. Go in between the needles and wrap around the front needle. Then you'll slowly bring that right tip of the needle back out through that big gaping hole. So very slowly pull it back through the loop, and once you have it on your right hand needle, you can slide it off your left hand needle. And again, you want to scooch your stitches up so that you don't have to yank the stitch off. It can just fall off the left needle. So you go down into the purl stitch, in between, wrap around the front needle, back out through the loop, off the left side. And that's the purl stitch. And you're going to bring one stitch at a time from your left needle over to your right needle. So we'll do a couple more here. Go into the stitch from the top down, make an X, take your yarn from the front, go in between the needles, wrap it around the front needle, and then very slowly, and it can seem kind of weird because you can't really see that hole as you're doing this, but just trust that your needle wants to go back through that hole. And then once you have your stitch on your right needle, you can let it drop off. And I scooch my stitches up and let that stitch drop off. So we'll go just a little bit faster. We're taking one stitch at a time and moving it from the left needle over to the right needle. And we're going to purl this entire row. And then I'm going to show you what your fabric looks like when you knit one row, purl one row. It looks different than if you knitted every row or if you purled every row. So we'll do other videos on what those stitches are called, but knitting every row is garter stitch, and knitting one row, purling one row, knitting one row, purling one row is stockinette stitch, and they look very different as a fabric. So we'll start to see that start to emerge here now that we've done a knit row and a purl row right together. And if I pull this fabric down, you can start to see that all these little V's start to appear underneath each stitch that's on the needle. And those little V's are knit stitches. And the little bumps are purl stitches. So there's the post, and then each V is underneath the stitch on the needle. So when you knit a row, purl a row, all your knit stitches start ending up on one side of the fabric, and all your purl stitches start ending up on the other side of the fabric. So the stitches that are on your needle is what will help you to determine which stitch to do next. So if you put your knitting down and you just picked it up for the first time and you wanted to continue working knit one row, purl one row, you'd have to look to see what is at the bottom of each stitch. And here you can see at the bottom of each stitch is a purl bump. So that means that if we were going to start knitting that row, we would want to knit it because we just did a purl the row below. So I'm going to show you if you mess up and you accidentally pull your knitting and get ready to start and you do the wrong thing. I want to show you what it looks like. So normally you would do knit one row, purl one row, which is what we just did, and then you'd start over and you'd knit the next row. Because if you look on the bottom of each stitch, there's a V, so I would want to knit this row. But I'm going to mess up intentionally, and I'm going to purl this row just so you can see what it looks like. So my yarn is in front. I go into the stitch from the top down. I go in between the needles, wrap around the left or the top needle, and then back out through the hole and then off. So we're going to purl this row when we would normally want to knit it, because we're wanting to make a fabric that's flat on one side and bumpy on the other side, which is stockinette stitch. But if you mess up and you end up purling, I just want you to see the difference. So I'm going to speed through to the end of this row and show you what I mean. Okay, we just finished a purl row, and if I pull the fabric down and look, you can see all of a sudden we stopped doing the knit one row, purl one row, but we just did 2 purl rows in a row. And so now you can see the stark difference between what the fabric looks like where it's smooth and all the V stitches line up, and now you can see a big fat row of purls going across our knitting. So now we're going to get back into the rhythm of knit one row, purl one row. So we're going to start the next row as a purl row. I want to get all my knit stitches on this side of the fabric, and then I want all of my purl stitches, which have the little bumps, I want those to all appear on the back side, not the front side. So you can see here, if if I pull down the fabric, get my yarn out of the way, all the bumps are on this side. Those are the purl bumps. So I'm going to continue with this pattern. So my next row is going to be a purl row. So our yarn is in front. We go down into the stitch, wrap it, pull it through, and then pull it off the left. I'm going kind of fast because I want to get to the end of the row. But let me just tell you while I'm doing this, you can also switch between knitting and purling within the same row. So you could do knit 1 stitch, purl 1 stitch, knit 1 stitch, purl 1 stitch. And if you do that, that's called ribbing. And we'll have a video on that soon. So we're finishing our purl row, and now we'll pull down the fabric and take a look. And we're getting back on track. Now this row is going to be a knit row. So we go into the stitch from the bottom up, wrap around behind, in between, and then take the stitch off the left needle. I'm kind of flying past this because we've already done the knit stitch, and if you need to, you can go back and watch the video on how to do the knit stitch. So we're knitting a row, purling a row. So this is the knit row. And when you knit 1 row, purl 1 row, all the V stitches, the knit stitches, line up on one side of the fabric, and all the purl stitches line up on the back side. And remember what we talked about, that when you started the purl stitch, it was similar to a knit stitch but opposite. So if you're knitting on one side of your fabric, the back side at the same time is making purl stitches. And now we're purling this row, and on the back side the fabric is making a knit stitch. So when the fabric is facing you, you're making a purl stitch, and when the fabric is away from you, it's making the knit stitch. It's doing the opposite. So we just finished a purl row, and now we'll look at our fabric, see how we're looking. And now you can see all the V stitches are lining up again on this side of the fabric, and all the purls are on the back side. So this is knit 1 row, purl 1 row, and all the little V's stacked up underneath each stitch on the needle. So you can see this would be the front of our work, but you can see that big glaring row of purl stitches. So we're going to continue in this pattern, knit 1 row, purl 1 row, and then that makes, do you remember what we called that? That's stockinette stitch. So that is the basic purl stitch. And now the next video that we work on is going to be how to get all the stitches off the needle, 1 stitch at a time, and that's called casting off or binding off. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments below, and I'll try and answer them. And if you need another video to show you something, just let me know in the comments and I will work on a video for that. So thanks for watching.